So we begin with then down she came.
Yes, page number 409. Then down she came from her high carven car, descending with a soft and faltering haste, her many-hued raiment glistening in the light, hovered a moment over the wind-stirred grass,
Okay,
mixed with a
it's hovered, hovered.
hovered, okay, hovered,
It's an
hovered,
and
her,
it's wind
hovered,
stirred. Wind, the grass is stirred by the winds, like you stir
wind,
something on the stove.
yes,
Wind
yes,
stirred. Okay,
wind stirred, okay,
hovered a moment.
hovered a moment over the wind-stirred grass,
Good.
mixed with a glimmer of her body's ray, like lovely plumage of a settling bird.
I think we'll have to check in English. In American English, we say plumage.
Okay, I check it.
So let's check it. I think it's plumage because plumes are
Yes,
feathers.
it is plumage. Yes, it is plumage.
Okay, fine. So we'll begin, and of course, you're going to read it many times because it's so beautiful. So we see that her chariot has been carved because Sri Aurobindo calls it here her high carven car.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a chariot that's been carved out of wood, made out of wood,
Okay. Huh.
and now this beautiful line descending. You can just see her coming down, and she descends with a soft, and she's a little bit hurried, but she's also faltering.
Hmm.
You see, because this is so important, this moment in their life.
Hmm.
So she descends with this soft, just a little faltering, little hesitating haste,
Hmm.
and her many-hued raiment. So she's probably in a beautiful sari. I
Hmm.
never thought about that, but being Savitri and being India, I think
Huh.
she would be wearing a sari. So
Hmm.
many hued, there are many colors in that sari, and
Yeah.
they are glistening in the light, and even even this raiment
Hmm.
hovers a moment over the wind
Okay.
stirred grass,
Okay.
and and it seems to be mixed with the glimmer of her body's light, her body's ray, like lovely plumage of a settling bird.
Hmm.
So just as she gets down, you have this extraordinary description of her just descending from the chariot with the soft and faltering haste in her beautiful sari glistening in the light and hovering over the wind-stirred grass. That
Hmm.
and it's sort of mixed with the glimmer
Hmm.
that raiment, that sari is mixed with the glimmer of her body's ray,
Hmm.
like lovely plumage. Plumage is the feathers of a settling bird, of a settling
Okay.
bird.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. And now it's all continue.
One second. Bird plumage is birds' feathers.
Feathers, yeah, plumage is feathers.
Got it. Okay. Her gleaming feet upon the green gold sward is correct
Sword is
pronunciation?
yeah,
Sword,
sword.
yes. And sword means, I think you've told this to me before, the lawn, like a lawn. It's
Yeah,
like
the
a
patch.
green patch. Yeah,
That that open field
fields, yeah. Her
with filled
gleaming
with
feet,
flowers.
her gleaming feet upon the green gold sward, scattered a memory of wandering beams, and lightly pressed the unspoken desire of earth, cherished in her too brief passing by the soil.
Wow. Again, we have the divine's feet. Huh?
Hmm.
Another instance of the divine's feet.
Hmm.
So her gleaming feet
Hmm.
upon this green gold sword. Now
Hmm.
she's beginning to walk with to him.
Hmm.
It's scattered the wandering beams of light over the flowers and the grasses. When
Hmm.
you walk, you scatter those beams of light.
Hmm.
If you're walking in a pasture, right, and the sun is falling on the flowers and the grass, then you're breaking that. You're scattering that as you walk.
Hmm.
You're scattering that light that's falling down because your feet and your dress tend to scatter that light.
Okay.
So, but it's just scattering a memory of
Hmm.
these one beams.
Hmm.
And now these two lines that are just touch me so deeply. And lightly pressed the unspoken desire of earth. This desire of earth for the divine's feet,
Hmm.
cherished, but too brief,
Hmm.
passing too brief by the soil.
Hmm.
So as she's walking towards him, the unspoken desire of earth is being lightly pressed with her feet,
Hmm.
and the earth cherishes this too brief passing as she moves across the soil. I don't feel you
Hmm.
have it completely yet. You
Yeah.
can tell me where your question is.
Uh, Not really questions. I'm having doubts around the pauses. So I'll read that again. Her gleaming feet, her gleaming feet upon the green gold sward scattered a memory of wandering beams, and lightly pressed the unspoken desire of earth, cherished in her too brief passing by the soil.
Yeah, only just, I would say, too brief. Not too brief, but in her too brief passing by the soil.
Oh, in her too brief passing by the soil. Okay.
And now you,
That's where I'm a little bit like scattered. In the sense like I thought like she lightly like he's explaining how lightly her feet kind of pressed on the earth and how the earth kind of um like it was the earth's unspoken desire too,
yeah,
but cherished in her too brief passing by the soil. So like the it's oh now I get it. I think now I got it. So the moment she presses the her feet upon the earth, the soil itself like cherishes the moment because she's walking. So there is only a brief press on the
you
soil.
you got it. You got it.
Got it. Okay, I
Wonderful.
got it. Yeah.
Very good.
Cherished in her too brief passing by the soil. That's how it is. Okay.
Excellent. Excellent.
Brief passing by the soil. Okay. Then flitting like pale brilliant moths, her hands took from the
Sylvan.
uh, sylvan
No.
words,
Ver,
were verge,
ver,
verge,
verges.
verges sunlit arms. I'll read that again. Then flitting like pale brilliant moths, her hands took from the sylvan verge's sunlit arms a load of their jewel faces, clustering swarms, companions of the springtime and the breeze.
You know what she's doing here?
Is she taking his face in her arms?
No, no. She's taking some flowers, picking
Oh,
picking some flowers from the earth. So her hands are like pale, brilliant moths that move over these flowers, and
okay.
they take from this beautiful sylvan, from the edge of this verge's sunlit arms, a load of these jewel faces. He calls these flowers jewel faces, and
Oh, the jewel phases are okay.
they're clustering swarms. So there are many, many flowers there, and they are companions of the springtime and the breeze.
Oh, yes, he's talking about okay, these are the clues, the springtime and the breeze, yeah.
And now you're going to see what she does with those flowers.
Hmm. Sylvan means?
Sylvan,
Yeah,
woodland, woodland. I
woodland.
would say. Let me get my. Okay.
Then flitting like pale brilliant moths, her hands took from the sylvan verge's sunlit arms a load of their jewel faces, clustering swarms, companions of the springtime and the breeze. Whoa, okay. Because even when I pre-read it, I didn't quite get the paragraph, and I was like, "What is happening here?" So now it fully makes sense. He's talking
Very.
about the flower.
So I have Sylvan, I have two things pertaining to or inhabiting the woods,
Okay,
consisting of or abounding in woods or trees. So it's a wooded area, but this is an open area, as we've understood, where she's come down from the chariot.
okay. So it's just he's just associating it with the forest land that they are at.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's look at this most beautiful, beautiful statement. Uh, it's a candid garland. So she makes a garland for him, and
Oh, wow.
she sets it with very simple forms, very simply done, huh?
Hmm.
And her rapid fingers, so because she's very dexterous, they taught a flower song in this garland of flowers. They made a flower song.
Oh.
They made like a song of these flowers.
Hmm.
And it is a stanzad movement of a marriage hymn. So,
Hmm.
so she creates almost a hymn with different stanzas of their marriage
Hmm.
because they are not going to be married by any uh, person, any yogi or sage or priest. They're
Hmm.
going to be married right here in this open field.
Okay.
So her a candid garland, candid, very simple garland,
Mm-hmm.
set with simple forms, the flowers. Her rapid fingers put together this garland so quickly,
Hmm.
and she made of that garland a flower song, a
Hmm.
move. So we have a song, we have a stanza in music, we have a movement in music, and we have a hymn in music. He
Oh,
gets
okay.
puts four things in here in two lines: song,
Okay.
stanza, movement, and hymn. Oh,
Okay.
now you will see what she does with that flower garland.
Okay. I'll read those lines again because I didn't read them.
Certainly.
A candid garland set with simple forms. Her rapid fingers taught a flower song. The stanzed movement,
Stanzad.
okay, the
That,
stanzed movement of a marriage hymn, profound in perfume and immersed in hue, they mixed their yearnings, colored signs, and made the bloom of their purity and passion one.
wow. So these flowers have a great perfume also, as well as color.
Color, yeah.
Profound, very deep in
Hmm,
perfume and immersed. So the colors are very, very beautiful,
hmm,
immersed hue. And they mixed these signs of their yearning
hmm,
and made the bloom of their purity and passion one.
hmm,
So
hmm,
everything has been united here.
hmm.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
A sacrament, is that how I say?
Sacrament.
Sacrament. Okay, like Sacramento.
Yes.
Okay. A sacrament of joy in treasuring palms, she brought, flower symbol of her offered life, then with raised hands that trembled a little now, at the very closeness that at the very closeness that her soul desired, this bond of sweetness, their bright union's sign, she laid on the bosom coveted by her love.
Wow. In her hands, she's holding the garland.
Hmm,
And it's a sacrament of joy,
hmm,
this garland.
hmm,
She brings it to him,
hmm,
and it is actually the flower symbol of her
hmm,
life that is offered to Satyabhat.
hmm,
And then with then she so it's in her palms, and then she raises it up,
hmm,
and and her hands are trembling a little now, just a
hmm,
little,
hmm,
because because she's so close, at the very closeness that her
hmm,
soul desired,
hmm,
this bond of sweetness, their bright union sign. She laid that garland over the head of Satyavan
hmm,
on his bosom,
hmm,
that coveted by her love.
hmm. Wow. Okay.
Uh, really should go a little bit longer if we could.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
As if inclined before some gracious God, who has out in his mist of greatness
Out
shone.
out of his mist of greatness, who has
Has,
out of his mist of greatness shown.
okay. As if inclined before some gracious God, who has, out of his mist of greatness, shone to fill with beauty his adorers, ours. She bowed and
Bow,
touched his
bow, bow
bowed. She bowed and touched his feet with worshipping hands. She made her life his world for him to tread, and made her body the room for his delight.
of his
Her
delight.
of his delight, her beating heart a remembrancer of bliss.
She's put the garland
Hmm.
over his bosom,
Mm-hmm.
and she's as if inclined before some gracious God, such
Hmm.
who has out of his mist of greatness shown to fill with beauty his adorers' hours. So she's before him as if he's some gracious God
Hmm.
who has out of his mist of greatness
Hmm.
shown to fill with beauty his adorers' hours. She bowed and touched his feet with worshiping hands. Not only did she touch his feet, she made
Hmm.
her life his world for him to tread, and made her body the room of his delight,
Hmm.
beating heart, a remembrancer of bliss. I wrote an entire article on the word remembrancer.
Okay.
In the early days of England,
Hmm.
uh, the king and queen would appoint a person
Hmm.
to, to remember all of their engagements, all that they had to do, and he was called the remembrancer.
Oh.
So now her beating heart is this remembrancer of bliss.
Wow. Okay. Shall I read a little more?
Uh, let's let's close it there, but read again from the beginning because
Beginning. Okay.
maybe
Perfect.
even read it twice.
Okay. No, actually, this is exactly till where I had also pre-read, so it's perfect.
Oh, wonderful! Good, very very good.
And I've noticed that most of the time it coincides. Like very rarely we go further. I,
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, I don't
well,
know how I know it, but somewhere like I'm guided to practice till there.
very good. And what I do is I try to end on those highest moments
Ah,
in
okay,
each passage, the moments
okay,
that I'll never forget, like when she says, I know that thou and only
yes,
thou art he,
yes,
and I
he,
finished for that day.
yes.
So we are on the same page, young lady. This is wonderful, really wonderful.
Okay.
We're both feeling the same way that
Mm,
we don't want to push things too far, but
yeah,
take the rasa of them in full.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay. Then down she came from her high carven car, descending with a soft and faltering haste,
Yeah, but
her
we want
many
to say here the two lines are connected to each other because down and descending are connected. Then
okay.
down she came from her high carven car, descending with a soft and faltering haste.
Down she came, sorry, then down she came from her high carven car, descending with a soft and faltering haste, her many-hued raiment glistening in the lights, hovered a moment over the wind-stirred grass, mixed with a glimmer of her body's ray, like lovely plumage
No
of a settle
plumage.
plumage, sorry, like a lovely
No,
plumage
a
of a
just
settle
like lovely.
like lovely, like lovely plumage of a settling bird. Her gleaming her gleaming feet upon the green gold sward scattered a memory of wandering beams, and lightly pressed the unspoken desire of earth, cherished in her cherished in her too brief passing by the soil. Then Flitting like pale brilliant moths, her hands took from the sylvan verge's sunlit arms a load of their jewel faces, clustering swarms, companions of the springtime and the breeze. A candid garland set with simple forms, her rapid fingers taught a flower song.
No, her rapid fingers taught a flower song.
Her rapid fingers taught a flower song, the stanzad movement of a marriage hymn, profound in perfume and immersed in hue, they mixed their yearnings, colored signs, and made the bloom of their purity and passion one. A sacrament of joy in treasuring palms, she brought, flower symbol of her offered life, then with raised hands that trembled a little now, at the very closeness that her soul desired, this bond of sweetness, their bright union's sign, she laid on the bosom coveted by her love. Again, she laid on the bosom coveted by her love, as if inclined before some gracious God who has, out of his mist of greatness, shone to fill with beauty his adorers' hours. She bowed and touched his feet with worshipping hands. She made her life his world for him to tread, and made her body the room of his delight, her beating heart a remembrancer of bliss.
Very well done. The only thing I would say is I would accent a little differently. She made her life his world for him to
Ah,
tread. In other words,
she
she's making
made
her
her
life.
life his world for him to tread. Okay.
Yes.
And I
So
also felt like the initial lines I was faltering here and there,
a
and
little,
later into the reading, yeah, I got it. I
yeah.
just moved into it further.
And actually, there was one other line. I know where it is now. Let me find it. Yeah, yeah. So after the bloom and purity and passion one, she made them. She mixed in this flower bouquet,
Hmm.
and then this becomes a sacrament of joy in her hands, in her
Okay.
treasuring palms. She brought a sacrament of joy in treasuring palms. She brought
Hmm.
flowers symbol of her offered life.
Okay.
Then with raised hands. So there's a so that parenthetical phrase of flower
Hmm.
symbol of offered life refers back to the sacrament of joy that she brought in her palms. And then she raises her hands. So it's a little complicated there.
So,
I'll
what
read.
does sacrament mean? Like it's like a symbol?
Oh no, a sacrament is something very sacred. In the church, I'll give you the exact definition, but in the church, when we accepted the sacraments, we supposedly accepted the body and blood of Christ. That was a sacrament. So I have to give you exactly sacrament. Here we go. So yes, okay. Wow.
Oh, I understand. Like the sacrament that is, it's given after the mass.
Yes, exactly. So we have
Okay.
sacrament. Sacrament. That's interesting. Very interesting. Mm. The sacrament, there are a number of definitions. Something regarded as possessing a sacred or mysterious significance. It could also be a rite believed to be a means of visible form of grace. And the third definition is a sign, token, or symbol. So very, very important word. So it's a very sacred thing. But it's not only sacred, but it's a sacrament of joy.
Mm.
We see very, very often we don't put those two together.
Mm.
But this sacred moment of joy in her hands, she's bringing as a flower symbol of her whole offered life.
Mm.
She's bringing this. She's bringing so she's offering her life as in this flower symbol that she's just put together.
Mm.
And then with those raised hands that trembled a little now, that at the very closeness that her soul desired, this bond of sweetness, this the bright union sign. What is it? Well, she laid it on the bosom. That when you covet something, you want it so much, huh?
Mm.
Coveted by her love.
Mm. A sacrament of joy in treasuring palms, she brought, flower symbol of her offered life, then with raised hands that trembled a little now, at the very closeness that her soul desired, this bond of sweetness, their bright union's sign, she laid on the bosom, coveted by her love.
Excellent.
Okay,
Excellent. Very, very fine.
okay.
Very fine. And these last two times have been so special, haven't they? Reading this when
Beautiful
Savitri
lines.
agrees to
Yes,
come down out of her chariot
yes.
and see him and offer her life to him and
Mm,
put this garland over his chest, over his head onto his chest.
mm,
And then the earth is cherishing her footsteps.
mm,
And there is a line in Savitri: beauty is his footprint, showing
mm,
us where he has passed.
mm. Wow.
So beauty is the divine's footprint, showing
Mm,
us where he has passed. And
mm,
there's an old thing from the West, the story of the man who is crying out to God,
mm.
and he says, "You know, you have always walked with me." And it's called Footsteps in the Sand, I believe.
Okay.
These two different footprints in the sand.
Mm,
And then he says, "And then you have left me.
mm,
There are only my there are only one set of footprints."
mm.
And the Lord says to him, "That's when I carried you."
Namaste, Narad. Thank you so much.
Sure.